I'll give them maybe in a minute or two. But I think we will, for the sake of time, we're going to start maybe another 2-3 minutes, and we're going to start. I'm waiting for Shahidul Mannan to show up. Oh, there he is.
You know, is Markey coming? Did you send the Markey coming or?
Yeah, he'll be coming around 6:40, 6:45-ish.
Oh, okay.
And Congressman McGovern cannot come because he wanted to be here, but unfortunately he is stuck in DC with all those important issues. Since it's up to you.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Fine, thank you.
Hello.
Hi there, Steve.
It's because this
Hi, Amy. Good to see you.
What's the agenda? I was just curious.
Grossman. By the way, Tahir, the agenda is simple. Support Joe and Ed. There is no other agenda there.
Right. That's totally, yes. Yes. Okay. It's typical election campaign event.
Hello, everybody. This is Aftab Siddiqui from Muslim Democratic Caucus of Texas.
Nice to meet you.
No, one of the battles on the stage.
Friends, organizer, and voters. Thank you for joining us on a Friday evening. I'm privileged to host this event on behalf of the Muslim for Biden, Massachusetts. I am the state director of Muslim for Biden in Massachusetts. The current environment in this country completely different than what we have known about America. So it is important for all of us to have contribution to change that environment. Today, our event is very packed up. We have 3 dynamic Muslim organizers from 3 states, Texas, Florida, and Michigan. We have 3 speakers from our respected speakers from Massachusetts. And I will give the podium now. We have 2 co-hosts.
I can start. I'm Shahidul Manan. I live in Hopkinton, and I'm part of the Muslim community and Bangladeshi community here in the greater Boston area. And tonight we have a pretty packed program, as Nazda Alam mentioned. We have organized our program in 3 parts. In the first part, we will have our activist leaders speak from the battleground states, and Nazda Alam will talk more and introduce them. In the second part, we will have our elected leaders who will be talking to the community, and they have been our ally. We're happy and very grateful for having them tonight. And we will have Senator Markey joining us and speaking us in the last 15 minutes in this so close to election. The senator is having multiple events going through, and we are really happy and grateful that he made the time to join us later tonight. We will take the opportunity to ask questions to our elected leaders after each of them speak, from our activist leaders, from the community, and also from the audience.
You have already given us given the go-ahead of what we have been doing, Shahid. So, okay, so they know about the question and answers. Congressman McGovern, unfortunately, he's stuck in DC. He was supposed to be here, but you know what's happening in that part of the state anyway. So we have to be careful. Willie, I thought maybe you say a prayer for us quickly.
Let us open in prayer, and thank you for having me here as Muslim for Biden, and I'm thankful to be present. Let us take this time of prayer. We've gathered here today from various faith traditions in solidarity with the Muslim community. And we come here because we believe that we need to fight for the soul of this nation. In the midst of a global pandemic where over 219,000 people have lost their lives and so many others have found themselves stricken and sick from COVID-19, in the midst of a moment where police brutality and systemic racism, we need strong leadership like Joe Biden to stand as the United States president. We as people of faith have been people who have been on the front lines as essential workers and frontline workers for justice. And we know right now we need moral, integral leadership. So whether there's a family that's balancing remote and work and school and learning or hybrid school, whether there's someone who is helping someone to make ends meet, whether you're facing eviction because the moratorium is lifted or you're dealing with the struggles of just making it from day to day. We know right now we've come together because we know we're better together. And so my prayer is that in the midst of this convening, you be with us. Let this be a uplifting and spiritual event to charge us forward towards victory. And we ask that you give the next president of the United States, Joe Biden, the support, the covering, the protection, the wisdom, and the understanding and the compassion he needs to lead us out of these dark times into your marvelous light.
Reverend Najda?
Okay, yeah, thank you, all of our audience to come here tonight. Election 2020 is historically important, not only to defeat Donald Trump. It is more important to preserve and protect. This is our last chance to preserve and protect democracy to make this country for all. Muslim concentration in the key battleground state and their vote could swing presidential election. The Muslim for Biden campaign is focusing all over the country, but our more concentration is on Michigan, Florida, Pennsylvania, Texas, New Hampshire, and Wisconsin. Each of these states has 150,000 to over 200,000 registered Muslim voters. And our mission is to make every single Muslim ballot to be counted. And I just wanted to mention that 20% of Muslims are Donald Trump supporters. Tonight, we have Senator Markey, former DNC Chair Steve Grossman, and Mayor Joe Petty of Worcester. Thank you and enjoy their dynamic leadership in their state, campaigning for Biden and Harris.
So I'm going to share a screen. What we are doing in Texas we thought that, I mean, Texas is a big state with at least 4 major cities, Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and then other also. El Paso is one. There are about 6 or 7 different cities. So what we did was define the mission. What our mission is, if we cannot really work in the whole Texas, we can work within our community and get our Muslim voters to go out and vote. We identified congressional districts that were within 3 to 4% of in margin in last elections. So we found 3 of them, and we thought that if we can get these 3 to win, it will be a big success.
Next speaker is Nadia B. Ahmed. Nadia, Sister Nadia, please come.
Okay, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Nadia Ahmed, and I'm coming to you from Orlando, Florida. With Iranian American Hamnia Jodat Barnes, I had co-founded Muslim Delegates and Allies Coalition. And also with the help of the American Muslim Democratic Caucus, we have been working to develop a 50-state voter mobilization strategy along with the Muslims for Biden group. And so for Florida, our strategy is to make around 15,000 calls to voters targeting Muslim, South Asians, and AAPI communities. So far, we've completed about 6,000 calls, and we hope after this event finishes, you'll also be able to join us in making calls to Florida, which is a very key battleground state. We are made to live together because of this interrelated structure of reality. And so it's really an honor for me to be on this call with you all. And I really wish that we had your senators here in Florida. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Nadia. It's been very inspiring, and definitely we need Florida.
Is it my turn now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. Thank you, Nazda Alam, Auntie, and everyone for inviting me. It's an honor for me to meet with you again. I do consider myself 1/4 Massachusettsian, however you say it, and I'm very grateful to be part of this panel. I'm really saddened that I didn't hear the rest of Nadia's, her remarks, because unfortunately it got disconnected. But I would say that all the comments I've heard so far, they ring true for Michigan as well. I'll kind of leave my comments broad for what's happening in Michigan, but starting with some numbers, looking at the trends, looking at kind of what the current situation, current crisis, and what next. First, if I start with some numbers, the numbers, as you say right at the beginning, 3.4 million Muslim American voters. That actually perhaps is there are probably even more voters than that in reality. And about almost 10% of that is in Michigan, in 270,000 registered voters in Michigan. And that's people who have registered to vote and who are actively have participated in the system. And Hillary Clinton in 2016 lost Michigan overall by less than 11,000 votes, 10,700 something. So I asked you to keep that number in mind, because Michigan is one of the states that put Trump into office. And I say that because if you look at that, just a handful of votes in every precinct actually really could have really put someone else into office. Secondly, what kind of trends do you see? Today at Jummah, I saw our newsletter from the mosque. First article from the Imam is go out and vote. Our Imam is telling us, we see the trends, we see this across the board, across the nation, that people are becoming more engaged. Voter participation has gone up tremendously, 19 points, some have said, and by others, tremendously in terms of across the state and across elections. What we also see is when people are given the chance to vote, a big shout out to the Secretary of State of Michigan, Jocelyn Benson, because she started mailing absentee ballots as soon as COVID crisis hit. And why I say that is when we saw that Muslim American votes increased exponentially right after that. And we had votes in the primary, and then inshallah, hopefully in the actual presidential. Number two, what are the trends that we see in this engagement? I'm old enough to remember when in the Muslim community, we endorsed George W. Bush, some of you may remember, in the election. And that was something, there was a lot of discussion. I'm a lawyer, and so in our group, we talked about this in the Muslim Bar Association of New York and NAMOL, others, and we said, what is this really the right vote? Yet we can see the shift. The trend is now going kind of more for what rights are really important to us and who's actually going to represent us. When we see that in the current situation, the issues that are important to all Americans, but particularly important to Muslim Americans, the economy, immigration, national security, civil liberties, and actually education, those are issues that are important to Michigan, Muslim voters.
That was very nice. I think, Najda, we can now move into the ask our next guest.
Has been a close ally with the Muslim and minority communities, engaging with us closely and listening to our issues to bring the voice to his work, and has always been gracious to join us and join our event and here and work with us. Thank you, Mayor Petty, for joining with us. If you want to speak a few words.
Sure. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here tonight. I'm honored to be here with Senator Markey, Steve Grossman, the former DNC chair, and of course, the treasurer of Massachusetts. And unfortunately, I guess Jim McGovern couldn't make it, but I'm honored to be here again, and many blessings upon you. Tonight, we're not talking about religion. We're not talking about the great contributions the Muslims made to this country and to the city of Worcester and the state of Massachusetts. Tonight, we're really talking about how important is the vote. I am so impressed with the speakers I heard tonight and how well organized the Muslim community is. And 80% is a good count. I know you want the other 20%, but I'll take the 80% who want to vote for Joe Biden. And it's so important. And you're really honed in on the battleground states, Michigan, Florida, etc. And it's so important. And our country, I really believe this. I'm not a doomsday guy, but I think our country's in trouble. It's in trouble because of our own doing. And it wasn't so long ago, I know Tahir remembers, and we had when Donald Trump wanted to ban Muslims from our, I'm sure you all remember that, but we had the rally here in the city of Worcester for the Muslim community, and also for the immigrant community too. We had a number of rallies for people where for some reason the president doesn't like, but which we honor. Worcester is a great place to live. It's a great place for the immigrant community. It's a great place for the Muslim community here in the city of Worcester. And I'm honored to be the mayor of such a great city. And again, thank you. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored that you asked me to speak tonight. Keep up the great work. I'm very impressed. I think if I ever run for national politics, I'll come to you guys first. So,
Thank you, Mayor Petty. It's
Steve, you are on the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Nazda. I'd like to start by acknowledging a few dear friends and colleagues, leaders of the Massachusetts Democratic Party. If I leave anyone out, please forgive me. Nazda Alam, of course, my friend Parwez Waheed, Joe Petty, the mayor of Worcester, who's been a friend and a colleague for many years, Norma Schulman, one of the great activists in the Massachusetts Party for many, many years, Jason Palich, and Jim Cantwell was mentioned earlier, Ed Markey State Director, but before he became Ed Markey State Director, he was a state representative. Here in Massachusetts, we're an interfaith. Oh, by the way, before I go on, I want to also honor Mushtaq's memory. I worked closely with Mushtaq. He taught me a lot about interfaith work and about the unique contributions of the Muslim community, and I will always be grateful for his leadership. Here in Massachusetts, we're an interfaith group of activists who are committed to the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party is committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Nazda talked earlier about the importance of allies. And as a former treasurer of Massachusetts and former chairman of the Democratic National Committee, I'm proud to be an ally of the Muslim community. What does it mean to be an ally? Well, number one, allies are committed to the pursuit of justice at every level of our society. Economic justice, social justice, religious freedom, environmental justice, justice at every level. Number two, allies use their power and their privilege to support and partner with others. Number three, allies are willing to give up their seats when necessary and appropriate to make sure that others are at the table and able to play a leadership role. I heard our first speaker talk about what it means to be at the table. Allies have to ensure that people in underrepresented communities who are underrepresented at the tables of power and influence are given seats at the table because they've earned them. And finally, allies must ensure that the leadership and the voice of the Muslim community will be prominent, not only during political campaigns when it's easy for politicians to promise a lot, but it's important that the leadership and voice of the Muslim community be prominent when Joe Biden is president of the United States and Ed Markey is in the majority of the United States Senate, when Chuck Schumer is the majority leader, when Mitch McConnell has finally shown the door for all the things that he has done to hurt people and to demean and denigrate people for so many years. That's what motivates me. That's why I'm here to express solidarity and commitment to the Muslim American community in every part of the country. Proud of the work that we do together as a team. And I look forward to working with you every step of the way, not only between now and November 3rd, but in elections for many, many years to come. Thank you so much for your willingness to listen. I'm deeply grateful.
Thank you, Steve, for your kind words and encouragement. We truly are very happy to have you as our ally, and we'll continue to count on your support. We have a few questions for you from the audience and some of the activist leaders. I would request Rokan Ahmed from New Hampshire to ask his question.
Hi. So I have a question regarding Donald Trump's basically contribution in dividing the country, and you mentioned that a little bit. So hopefully, Biden ticket will win the Biden-Harris will win the ticket, and the Democrats will gain the control of the both chambers of the legislation. So how do we heal the country after the election? How do you put us together?
Well, it's going to be challenging, but when Joe Biden looked the American people in the eye earlier this week in the debate and said, I'm not about red states or blue states. I'm not about one versus the other. I'm going to be the American president. I'm going to be there for those people who didn't vote for me. I'm going to be there for those people who did vote for me. Kindness, generosity. If you look at the logo of the Biden-Harris ticket on the flyer that was sent out for this event, it says truth, hope, decency. I ask everybody, not so much rhetorical, but I ask you literally, has Donald Trump spoken the truth during the past 4 years? Has he acted with decency? The answer is no. Joe Biden is the antithesis of that. Ed Markey is the antithesis of that. And I know that Ed's got to leave at 7. I know we only have 9 minutes left between now and 7. I understand that he's ready. I would be happy to speak further, but I think at this point, I think it's important for us to hear from the senator from Massachusetts, Ed Markey, who will be in the majority come January 20th of next year. Okay?
He was also there when we did the Eid celebration. He came out and gave us the Eid greeting for everybody. So, so thank you for that, Senator. But Senator, I always look up to him because he's slightly taller than I. So, but it's a good friend, and it's my pleasure to introduce Senator Ed Markey. Please go ahead and take the floor.
Thank you, Tahir, so much. And thanks for everyone joining us for all that you do. It was great to be on with Mayor Joe Petty as well. Like you're saying, we were out at the convention at the Worcester Centrum a year ago. I think I can't even remember exactly when it was. It was cold. That's what I remember. It was cold that day. And of course, my great friend, Steve Grossman, who has joined us this evening. He's just absolutely, kind of an essential ingredient in Massachusetts and across the country, and helping to, create these bridges for interreligious cooperation and advancing justice, advancing cooperation with everyone. So thank you all for being here. So we're less than 2 weeks away from the most consequential election of our lifetimes. We have a racist who is sitting in the Oval Office. He has been criminally negligent in the way in which he handled the coronavirus pandemic and the consequent economic recession which has been created. So this is absolutely a disaster. When you look back at the Muslim ban, I went over immediately, had my staff over at Logan Airport to work to make sure that that ban, would have minimal impact on Muslims who were coming in through the airport. The next morning at 11 a.m., we were over in Copley Square at our rally against Donald Trump. I know so many of you were there that morning. This just takes us really back to the beginning of the Trump administration, where he was essentially saying that he was going to make America great again by making America hate again. And we knew that when he put on that Muslim ban, that was a signal he was trying to send about the kind of country which he wanted. And then in January, Donald Trump actually threatened to destroy cultural and religious sites in Iran, a violation of international law and an act that is simply morally wrong. Donald Trump is actively working to destroy years of American diplomacy that has respected religious and cultural groups all across this planet. And as Donald Trump has played games with our foreign policy and allowed governments that brutal regimes so that they can ignore and destroy fundamental human rights. Joe Biden has continued to speak out to advocate for the oppressed Uyghur Muslims in China, to speak out for the Rohingya Muslims in Burma, in stark contrast to the current administration's inaction. Joe Biden will restore America's role and voice as a human rights champion on a global scale. And here in the United States, again, the Muslim ban was just the beginning of it. It's why I introduced legislation that would limit presidential discretion to set broad travel bans and target people based on religion. Donald Trump's executive order has always been rooted in xenophobia and is the equivalent of out sign posted at America's doors. And on day one of Joe Biden's presidency, he will end the Muslim ban. January 20th, 2021. Donald Trump and his racist, radical agenda has completely and unconditionally taken over the Republican Party. It's a sad but accurate assessment of where they are right now in their party. And while Donald Trump's name may only be on the ballot once this election day, his damaging special interest policies will be on the ballot in governor's races, congressional races, Senate races, state legislative races all across Massachusetts, all across our country. And that is why we absolutely must get out the vote on election day. This right now, Joe Biden will protect Muslim American constitutional and civil rights and honor the diversity of Muslim American communities. Joe Biden is going to be an incredible president of the United States for civil liberties for everyone, for constitutional protections for everyone, for the better angels of our nature as Americans to once again be on display for the rest of the planet to see. But we're going to need your help over the last 11 days. This is states to stand for. So I can't thank you all enough for everything that you are doing. Maybe I could take one quick question, but I have another huge, we have a whole other event with I think about 1,000 Democrats from Massachusetts who are jumping on, who are going to be making calls across the country. But maybe, Tahir, if you've got a question, I could answer it quickly.
Yeah, I think we can get a question to you. Shahid, get a question ready. But sure. One thing I want to ask you, one thing I want to say to the senator, thank you again. But if I would advise Joe Biden to, when he goes to the Oval Office, make sure he gets a lot of bleach and Lysol to clean that up.
Well, that's the good thing. We actually are a party that believes in science and public health. It'll be good again for the
stage. So it's the networking we can do next 11 days. Thank you again. I think we had a great evening with great speakers and your presence. We are humbled to have you.
Thank you very much, Najda, and everybody who has joined us. It has been a very nice ride for us. And I think let's now go out and get the vote out.
With love of country, a thirst for justice, let us be the nation that we know we can be. A nation united, a nation strengthened, a nation healed. The United States of America, ladies and gentlemen, there's never been anything we've tried we've not been able to do. So remember, as my grandpapa, our grandpapa, he said when I walked out of his home, when I was a kid up in Scranton, he said, Joey, keep the faith. And our grandmother, when she was alive, she yelled, no, Joey, spread it. Spread the faith. God love you all. May God bless America, and may God protect our church.
This is my fault.